Welcome, directors, to this essential session. Today, we confront a fundamental truth about filmmaking, something absolutely crucial. The world we create for our characters, must not just look real, it has to feel real, deeply real. We are here today to unlock the power that transcends mere acting, moving into the realm of undeniable human experience.
Indeed. And it's vital. We delve into how the environment itself, the very air your actors breathe on set, can either elevate or completely undermine every single moment.
Right.
Without a true, deep understanding of place on the fourth wall, actors, even brilliant ones, often end up playing at reality. They demonstrate emotion instead of truly living inside its profound, sometimes brutal truth.
So they're indicating, not experiencing.
Precisely. This session is your guide, your practical toolkit to ensuring every frame captures not just action, not just plot, but the raw, vital essence of inner life, the stuff that resonates.
Okay, let's start right there at the core. Why is this living, breathing reality, this complete immersion you're talking about, why is it so absolutely non-negotiable? Why must the world truly feel real rather than simply appearing so on camera?
Well, because the highest form of cinematic art doesn't just portray emotion, it possesses it.
Possesses it.
Yes. It's about the profound excavation of the human condition, making that internal, often invisible struggle truly palpable, visceral for the audience. You want them to feel it in their bones. Now think about it. When a scene feels hollow or inert, maybe overtly theatrical, even with the most capable actors and the most intricate sets, it's often, almost always, due to a failure.
A failure of what specifically?
A failure to fully activate the emotional architecture of the space, or maybe a failure to harness the unseen forces at play just beyond the frame. Things the character feels, even if the audience doesn't consciously see them.
Okay, so it's about activating those invisible layers.
Exactly. Your mission as a director, your fundamental job, is to move beyond setting a mere stage, beyond just decorating a set. You must sculpt a world so visceral, so undeniable, that your actor is consumed by it. They have no choice but to react truthfully.
Consumed by it. That's a strong image.
It has to be. We're not just capturing images, are we? We're excavating a soul. We're aiming to create scenes that don't merely entertain, they penetrate, they haunt, they cut right through the screen to seize your audience by the heart.
And that only happens if the foundation is real.
Absolutely. The world must feel real, because only then can the character's truth truly emerge, unfiltered and profound. Only then is every behavior rooted in genuine emotional necessity, driven by their objective, complicated by their obstacles.
So a beautiful shot isn't enough.
Not even close. A visually stunning frame is meaningless if it's not charged with psychological energy. Your craft as a director is to transform performance into possession. If the environment is neutral, if it doesn't mean anything specific and personal to the character,
then the fight feels academic.
Exactly. Academic, intellectual, never primal, never truly desperate or vital. And that's what we're after, the vital truth.
You mentioned emotional architecture of the space and harnessing unseen forces. Those are incredibly compelling ideas. Let's unpack the first of those. Place. When we speak of place in this technique, we are referring to something far deeper than just walls and furniture, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. Far deeper.
It's not simply the physical location. What precisely is place in this context?
Precisely. Place is not simply the physical location where the scene unfolds. It is fundamentally the character's subconscious made manifest.
Wow. Okay, say more about that.
Imagine it as a container. A vessel brimming with their memories, their traumas, their deepest hopes, maybe their shame, their unfulfilled desires, or their most paralyzing fears. It encompasses the entire emotional history that specific space inherently holds for them.
So the history isn't general, it's specific to the character's experience there.
Absolutely specific. Every single time your actor steps onto that set, they are entering. Well, it could be a battlefield of past experiences. Or maybe it's a sanctuary of cherished moments. Or perhaps it's a prison of their own making, trapping them with regret.
So the nature of the place depends entirely on the character's relationship to it.
Entirely. This space is never neutral. I cannot stress that enough. It is charged with history, with profound psychological resonance. Your set is never ever just a backdrop. It is a direct extension of your character's inner landscape.
An extension of their inner landscape.
Yes. Every corner, every object, that shaft of light coming through the window, the shadows in the evening, all are laden with psychological meaning that must be unearthed and activated by you and your actor.
So it's a collaborative discovery.
It has to be. Your paramount duty as a director is to perceive these deeply embedded experiences, to help your actor connect with them, and then empower your actor to harness this resonance as pertinent fuel for their character's objective. What are they fighting for in this specific place?
Right. How does the place itself help or hinder their objective?
Exactly. Each location, then, functions not just as a setting, but as an emotional trigger. It's deeply embedded with the character's personal history, demanding specific behaviors and reactions from them. A seemingly empty room can be screaming with unspoken history.
And it's our job to make that scream heard.
Or felt by the audience. Through your actor's intimate, often subconscious connection to it. That's the power of place.
That's a powerful way to put it. A battlefield of past experiences. This moves beyond just abstract theory into something really tangible for performance. Can you give us some vivid, concrete examples? How does a seemingly ordinary place become profoundly charged like that? How do we as directors guide our actors and ultimately our audience to understand that this mere set is, in fact, a living memory?
Let's consider a few scenarios, moving beyond the obvious cliches. Let's make it specific.
Okay.
Consider a simple kitchen. We've all shot scenes in kitchens. It's not merely a functional backdrop for conversation, is it?
Rarely just that, no.
For your character, it could be the precise spot where a foundational trauma occurred. Perhaps where they were told as a child their father would never return. Or maybe it's where they watched a loved one slowly give up on life day after day at that very table.
So the memory is locked into the physical details.
Absolutely. The very light in that room, maybe the way it hits the linoleum floor at a certain time of day, the worn formica table, the silence broken only by the hum of an old refrigerator, all of it can carry the indelible imprint of that wound, of that specific memory.
How might that manifest in behavior?
Well, perhaps the corners of the kitchen remember violent arguments. Maybe your character instinctively avoids them, flinching slightly or hugging the opposite wall when they pass through. Or they might unconsciously shield themselves.
Subtle things.
Often very subtle, but deeply felt. That chipped mug on the counter isn't just a prop, is it? It could be the last thing their lost child touched. Suddenly, a mundane object transforms into a profound symbol of grief, making it almost impossible for the character to touch it, or perhaps they cling to it desperately.
Right. The object becomes loaded.
Completely loaded. The floorboards might creak in a particular spot where a secret was buried, causing a subtle hesitation in your actor's step every time they cross it. The performance then projects those memories and associations directly into the physical space, making the furniture feel like a witness, making the air feel heavy with the past.
Okay, that's a kitchen. What about somewhere more intimate, like a bedroom?
A bedroom. Never just a place to sleep. It can be a space heavy with betrayal. That bed, maybe even that specific side of it, holds the echoes of broken promises, of secrets whispered in the dead of night.
The history is literally in the sheets.
It can feel that way to the character. Every crease in the sheet, every shadow cast by the bedside lamp can be a silent witness to your character's deepest wounds. Perhaps where their dignity was shattered or their integrity was questioned, or where they felt utterly alone despite someone lying next to them.
How else could that play out?
It could carry the visceral scent of a past lover, even if that person is long gone, triggering a physical reaction, a tightening in the chest, a quick glance around in your actor as they enter. The dresser drawer might hold a hidden letter, photograph, a painful memento, and merely glancing at it causes a tremor in your character's hand, revealing an unspoken fear or an unresolved conflict that fuels their current objective.
So the space becomes a repository.
A repository of their most intimate vulnerabilities and their most brutal disappointments, a place they might feel trapped in, or a place they desperately need to reclaim.
And even somewhere seemingly transitional, like a hallway.
Even a simple hallway can become a corridor of ghosts. It's not just for moving through from point A to point B. For a character, it could be where a scream once echoed, irrevocably altering their world, maybe a scream they let out, or one they heard.
Haunting.
Or could be designed in their memory to remind them of profound humiliation, perhaps being ridiculed there as a child, making the simple act of walking down a daily gauntlet of memory, forcing them to adopt a certain posture or pace.
So the physical act of moving through it is charged.
Always. Perhaps a specific patch of wall bears a lingering stain, a remnant of a violent outburst, causing your character to recoil. Or, conversely, maybe they defiantly touch it, re-engaging with that painful history as part of their fight.
So every object, every part of the set
Can and must be imbued with the character's personal, often painful history. Does your character instinctively avoid a specific chair because a loved one died in it? Maybe they have to physically move around it as if it were a real obstacle, because emotionally it is. Do they linger near the sink because it evokes memories of nurturing someone they lost? Their fingers may be tracing the cold faucet as they speak, revealing a hidden layer of vulnerability beneath their words.
These aren't just physical movements then.
Never. They are profound emotional reactions to a weaponized space. They root every action, every doing in a deeply personal emotional truth, directly serving or complicating their objective. The set transcends being a mere environment. It becomes an extension of the character's inner landscape. Every touch, every glance, every avoidance becomes a testament to their inner battle.
Wow. Okay. So the space becomes an active, almost sentient participant in the story, dictating behavior. That's incredibly powerful. Now, let's turn our attention to that other powerful yet invisible element you mentioned, the fourth wall. For many, it's just that invisible barrier between the audience and the stage or screen. How do we as directors need to see it differently? How do we instruct our actors to use it?
Right. The traditional view is limited. For us, for the work we're discussing, the fourth wall is anything but a barrier. Think of it instead as a profound portal.
A portal. Interesting. A portal to where?
A portal into the character's inner world. It's a psychologically charged frontier that reveals what truly lives within their mind, their heart, their gut. This invisible threshold, far from being empty or neutral, pulses with meaning. It's alive.
So what's on the other side of this portal? What's in that space?
It's the sacred space, just beyond the lens, where your character might unconsciously conjure maybe the imagined face of a deceased sibling observing them. They might be seeking solace from that image, or maybe fighting off feelings of regret associated with it.
So they're interacting with someone who isn't physically there.
Exactly. Or it's where they silently plead for the approval of a mother who never granted it, or where they relentlessly fight to prove their worth to an imagined audience, maybe classmates who once dismissed them, or a rival they need to mentally defeat.
So it's populated by figures from their past or their imagination?
Precisely. This portal leads directly into their emotional hallucination, a private world they populate with the specters of their past, their unmet needs, their projected fantasies, their deepest fears. It could be home to a lost child they're still protecting in their mind. It could be a gnawing, guilty conscience given form, maybe a terrifying future they're trying to avoid, or a shimmering fantasy of a better life that feels perpetually just out of reach.
And this gives the director...
This tool grants you, the director, the power to forge extraordinary emotional depth, even in profound silence. By giving your character these invisible scene partners, you provide externalized objectives and obstacles, things that haunt the air and drive behavior without a single word of dialogue needing to be spoken.
Can you give an example of that? Silence, but driven by the fourth wall.
Certainly. Consider a moment when a character is alone in a room, seemingly doing nothing, just sitting there. Now, if they project their abusive father onto the fourth wall, silently judging them, they might flinch subtly when a door slams elsewhere. They might recoil slightly into their chair, or maybe they straighten their posture, unconsciously trying to appear strong, even in solitude, fighting against that remembered criticism. Their objective becomes to withstand the judgment.
Okay.
Or, if they project a lost lover onto that same fourth wall, their gaze might soften. Their hand might reach out unconsciously, just slightly. Their breathing might change. Their objective becomes to reconnect or to mourn. These are not general emotions. They are specific doings driven by a fierce objective to relate to an imagined obstacle or presence.
So the actor isn't performing for the camera.
Absolutely not. They're playing through this intensely imagined reality. It makes their world airtight, completely private, and that private world, rich with emotional specificity, inevitably spills over. It electrifies every glance, every loaded pause, every line reading, because it's rooted in a real, albeit internal interaction.
The fourth wall becomes the canvas.
The canvas for your character's internal war. And you, the director, are the one helping them paint it. It's the ultimate tool, really, for achieving an utterly private, completely authentic performance, free from any sense of performing for an audience.
That clarity on the fourth wall as a portal to emotional hallucination is incredibly insightful, really shifts the perspective. So let's shift into the practical application for directors again. How do we actively guide our actors to infuse the space, the place, with this deeply personal meaning? How do we ensure every object serves the character's objective, transforming the scene into that soul mapping you described, rather than just, hitting marks?
Right. The imperative here is to invite discovery. It's crucial. You don't simply impose your own vision onto the actor or the space. Many actors arrive on set understandably focused on lines, on blocking marks, maybe camera positions. They often overlook or aren't guided to see how the physical space itself can profoundly fuel their character's needs and drive their objectives.
So we need to change their focus.
You need to consciously slow the process down, especially in rehearsal or even briefly on set. Open it up. Create an environment that isn't just about running scenes, but about investigating them deeply.
How do we start that investigation?
Begin by asking deeply personal questions, questions that excavate the character's emotional history within that specific location. What happened here that shaped you, that haunts you, that perhaps even saved you? Who did you become in this room? What part of you was forged here?
Connecting backstory directly to the physical environment?
Directly. And you guide them through rigorous substitution work. This is key. For example, if the scene is set in a generic hospital room on your set, you ask the actor, what hospital room in your life holds the most profound emotional resonance? Was it where you visited a sick loved one, where you received devastating news, or perhaps where you experienced immense relief or joy?
Making it personal.
Instantly. That personal substitution immediately infuses the generic set with specific, deeply felt emotional meaning for the actor. The sterile room becomes charged.
Then what, once that connection is made?
Then you help your actors understand that every element of the set, a chair, a lamp, a doorway, a window, a particular corner, even a crack in the plaster, can become significant. It can become a trauma track, a power zone, a danger zone, or a sanctuary for their character.
Can you define those terms a bit more?
A trauma track is a specific path or area in the room that triggers past pain or negative experiences. It might cause the character to instinctively avoid it or to react with tension or hesitation when forced to traverse it. Their objective might be to avoid the track or to overcome the fear associated with it.
Okay, and a power zone.
A power zone is where the character feels most in control, most authentic, perhaps safest. It's where they feel most able to pursue their objective without compromise. They might gravitate towards it when feeling challenged.
Makes sense. Danger zone.
A danger zone is the opposite, an area where they feel exposed, vulnerable, judged, or physically or emotionally threatened. They might instinctively shrink away from it or become defensive when near it. Their objective could be to escape the danger zone.
And sanctuary.
A sanctuary might be a small nook, maybe a specific chair, or by a window, where they feel safe enough to truly feel their emotions, to be vulnerable, or to connect with a positive memory, a place they retreat to, consciously or not.
So you map the room emotionally based on the character's history.
Precisely. Then, crucially, you design your blocking not based on aesthetic marks or just getting them into the light. You base it on the character's emotional navigation of these psychological landmines and power zones.
So the blocking comes from this internal map.
Every movement becomes a deliberate behavioral reaction, rooting the actor's actions in their personal history and serving their fierce objective. Why won't they sit in that chair? What does it cost them emotionally to walk past that door they keep glancing at, filled with longing or dread? Blocking ceases to be mechanical staging.
It becomes
soul mapping, where every movement, every pause, every lean against the wall, every avoidance of a certain object has a specific actionable reason rooted in personal history and the pursuit of their objective within that charged space.
And then the camera's role.
Your camera movement, Your composition, your lens choices must then amplify these internal dynamics. Don't just observe, participate. Use wide shots to emphasize isolation within a hostile space, making a character feel small in their danger zone.
Or the opposite.
Exactly. Employ tighter close-ups when a character is in their power zone to heighten their internal resolve or their connection to their objective. Allow shadows to swallow corners where fear or unresolved trauma lives, externalizing the internal state.
What about camera movement?
Use a slow, deliberate dolly shot to track an actor as they reluctantly enter a danger zone, building palpable tension. Or use handheld to reflect their inner turmoil when confronted by a trauma track. Employ specific color temperatures, maybe a cool blue wash over an area associated with loss, a warm amber light near their sanctuary to imbue objects and areas with deeper emotional resonance.
So the space itself becomes a dynamic character.
It has to. A dynamic character that either suffocates or empowers your protagonist. It turns your scenes from mere cinematic moments into living, intentional transformations. You're making the environment a co-conspirator in the character's journey toward their objective, or sometimes a physical manifestation of their obstacle.
That detail on trauma tracks and power zones really elevates the concept from abstract to absolutely actionable for a director on set. Now let's apply that same practical directorial lens to the fourth wall. How do we direct that? Ensuring actors use it as that powerful focusing tool, not a crutch. How do we really trap them in the authenticity of the fight, as you said? How do we make sure it's a living, breathing partner in the scene rather than just empty space beyond the lens?
Right. Directing the fourth wall requires a similar process of invitation and discovery. Your task is to guide the actor in assigning vivid, specific, emotionally charged meaning to that space beyond the frame. And again, this is not about abstract thought or general emoting. It's about helping them create powerful, concrete internal realities that directly influence their objectives and obstacles within the scene.
So it has to connect directly to what they're fighting for in that moment.
Absolutely. That seemingly blank corner of a room, for instance, could hold the silent, judging presence of an abusive parent. Maybe the character's objective in the scene is to finally stand up to someone else. But they keep glancing at that corner, fighting off the parent's ingrained disapproval as an internal obstacle.
So it adds another layer to the conflict.
A critical layer, or a ceiling light, maybe one that flickers, could become a heartbreaking symbol of an unborn child tragically lost. It embodies their guilt, maybe a desperate hope for the future, or an overwhelming sense of responsibility they feel they failed. When the character glances at it, they might be silently pleading for forgiveness, seeking strength, or steeling themselves to pursue an objective related to family or legacy.
The object becomes a conduit to the fourth wall presence.
It can, yes. Or a doorway. A doorway could transform into the imagined threshold to a life they desperately yearn for, but believe they can never attain, maybe a life of sobriety or success or peace. Looking at it becomes a doing of longing or despair, or maybe fierce determination to finally cross it.
And this ensures they aren't playing to the camera.
Precisely. They're not performing for the camera. They are playing through their imagined reality towards that specific point on the fourth wall. That private world, rich with emotional specificity, spills over. It electrifies every glance, every loaded pause, every line, because the actor's objective, maybe to communicate, to convince, to fight, to conceal, becomes intensely focused through this imagined presence.
It eliminates performance for external approval.
Completely. It traps the actor fiercely within the character's inner battle. Their focus shifts entirely from how am I coming across to genuinely doing something for or against the imagined figure or symbol on the fourth wall. Their energy is directed outward to that point, not vaguely inward or towards the crew.
So how do we help them choose what or who is there?
You collaborate. You ask questions. Who are you really talking to when you say this line? Whose approval do you desperately need right now? What face represents your deepest fear in this moment? If your guilt had a presence, where would it be standing? Is it a specific person? Is it a manifestation of their own self-doubt? Is it the face of their future self, judging their present actions?
And each choice creates different behavior.
Profoundly different physical and emotional behaviors, all aimed at pursuing their objective or overcoming their specific obstacle in that scene, channeled through that fourth wall interaction.
And visually, how do we support this as directors?
You enhance it subtly through eye lines guiding the actor's gaze to a consistent off-camera point that suggests a significant presence exists just beyond the frame. This draws the audience's attention, makes them feel that unseen force.
To the eye line becomes meaningful.
Deeply meaningful. Use strategic framing, perhaps leave significant negative space in the frame just beyond the actor's gaze, suggesting either the emptiness left by someone gone or the looming presence of something there.
Interesting. What about lighting?
You can even use lighting shifts, perhaps key to the emotional tone of the fourth wall presence. Maybe subtly dimming a practical light that represents a dying relationship as the character gazes into that imagined void, or using a slightly harsher key light from the direction of the imagined judge. It makes the frame vibrate with profound emotional life.
So the fourth wall becomes a tangible element for the audience too, even though it's unseen.
They don't see the imagined figure, but they absolutely feel its presence. They feel it through the actor's authentic struggle, their specific doings, their charged focus. The fourth wall transcends being a mere concept. It becomes a breathing, essential partner in the scene itself, a critical ingredient in making the character's world airtight and undeniably real.
This really sounds like it requires an incredibly acute directorial eye, a sensitivity to nuances that might otherwise just fly by. How do we, as directors, develop that intuition? How do we identify when this crucial emotional architecture of place and the activated fourth wall are absent? What are the telltale signs of a dead frame, as you put it, a scene that feels like it's gasping for air, or a performance that feels like that playing at reality?
You're right. It requires cultivating an acute intuition, a sensitivity to when a scene is simply not breathing, when it feels hollow, inert, maybe overtly theatrical, even as we said, with capable actors and impressive sets. The warning signs are unmistakable once you know what to look for. And they're not just about the actor. They're about the entire fabric of the scene and its environment.
Okay, so what's the first sign? Firstly,
observe the blocking. Does it feel robotic? Are the movements technically precise, perhaps, but lack genuine motivation? Is there no rhythm, no emotional charge driven by the character's profound needs or their relationship to the space?
Like they're just hitting marks.
Exactly. If an actor crosses a room simply because you told them to stand over there by the lamp for the lighting, rather than because that lamp represents something they need to confront, or because the path takes them through a danger zone they dread, well, you see a body moving, but you don't feel a soul fiercely fighting for an objective.
That's a clear indicator.
It's a huge red flag. It tells you the space is not being navigated as a living memory or a minefield of emotional geography. The place hasn't been activated in a way that influences their objectives and obstacles.
Okay. What's the second sign?
Secondly, observe the actor's connection. Do they feel disconnected? Does their performance seem to float, somehow untethered from history, from urgency, from the ground beneath their feet?
You see them acting.
You see them acting, demonstrating an emotion, rather than genuinely battling for something real.
Yeah.
You don't perceive true decisions being made in the moment or palpable stakes driving their behavior. This signifies that the environment has failed to become a genuine extension of their inner world.
And the fourth wall.
That the fourth wall hasn't been imbued with a specific driving presence. The performance feels generalized, vague, because the actor isn't fighting for or against a specific objective or overcoming a precise obstacle located either in the room or just beyond it.
Right. Makes sense. Third sign.
Thirdly, look critically at the frame itself. Does it feel merely decorative? Your cinematography might be beautiful, the lighting technically flawless, the composition impeccable according to the rules, but is there any tension, any weight, any electricity underneath the surface?
So the aesthetics are there, but the feeling isn't.
Correct. The space feels like an aesthetic choice, not a crucial emotional one. Objects are just set dressing, rather than charged symbols impacting the character's doing. This reveals a fundamental misunderstanding, or at least an underutilization, of place. The audience might appreciate the pretty picture, but they are not feeling the story within it. They're not leaning in.
Okay. And
Finally, notice the moments between the lines. Do pauses feel empty, like the actor is just waiting for their cue? Do silences carry no weight, no unspoken thought or feeling? Are objects touched without meaning, without compulsion, just as idle business?
The scene becomes airless.
Exactly. Airless. Because it's not rooted in a deep psychological need tied to the environment or an unseen presence on the fourth wall. The emotion, even if outwardly expressed through tears or shouting, fails to land because it feels like behavior divorced from history and specific objectives. When you feel this pervasive emptiness, this lack of heat, or a flat, predictable rhythm,
You're sensing a missing heartbeat.
that's exactly it, a missing heartbeat. And your job isn't to push through hoping it gets better in the edit. It won't. You must stop, breathe, take stock. Ask yourself, and your actor, where's the emotional charge here? What is this character truly doing in relation to this space or this unseen force? What do they need right now? Your solemn duty is to revive it, right there on the floor.
That's a crucial diagnostic checklist, really helpful. So when we detect these warning signs, when we feel that missing heartbeat, when a scene feels like it's flatlining, what practical, actionable rehearsal tools can we employ right then and there? How do we revive the scene and re-inject that vital emotional charge into places and the fourth wall? How do we invite that essential discovery you mentioned earlier without just giving line readings?
Right. The goal is always to invite discovery, to provoke authentic behavioral reactions, not to impose solutions from the outside. So when you sense that flatness, resist the urge to just give notes like more energy or feel it more. That's useless. Instead, revisit the space with your actor. Approach it with fresh eyes, with deeper curiosity.
Start with questions, not answers.
Always. Ask profound questions that are essentially emotional excavations. They're designed to unearth how the space truly resonates inside the character's psyche, or who they need to put on that fourth wall right now. You are seeking visceral reactions, specific choices, not clever intellectual answers. These tools aim to reconnect the character's objective directly to their environment and the unseen world.
Okay, so let's break down those tools you mentioned. What's the first one?
Let's start with space activation. This is about making the physical place personal again. Begin by asking those deeply personal substitution questions about the place itself. What specific place in your life does this remind you of? Not just visually, but emotionally. Is it your childhood home, a forgotten classroom, a place of triumph, a place where you felt profoundly defeated or shamed?
Connecting it back to their own lived experience.
Directly. Yeah. Then ask, where in this room right now do you feel most exposed? Where do you feel most powerful, most vulnerable, and why? Get specific. Then have the actor walk the space in character, slowly, maybe without lines at first. Just explore it as someone truly haunted or deeply affected by what has transpired there, or by what they are fighting to achieve or overcome within its confines right now.
And we observe closely.
Meticulously. What do they avoid? Is there a corner they won't go near? What do they linger on? Is there an object they can't stop touching or looking at? Perhaps they pace around a table but never sit because that table represents a broken promise related to their objective. Or maybe they stare intently out a window as if waiting for someone who will never return, their objective being to reclaim a lost connection symbolized by that view.
These micro-behaviors become clues.
They are windows into their deeper truth, potent starting points for substitution work and emotional mapping. Take those authentic impulses the actor gives you, don't dismiss them, elevate them. Shape your blocking around what the actor intrinsically offers, using their reactions to define the emotional terrain of the scene and how they pursue their objective within it. Maybe the scene needs to be reblocked entirely based on where they feel safe or threatened.
Okay, space activation. What's the next tool?
Object infusion. This is about loading specific props or set elements with intense personal meaning. Encourage your actors to assign inner objects, vivid, emotionally charged substitutions to specific things within the scene. These inner objects aren't literal, they're symbolic. But once identified and believed, they profoundly transform blocking, gestures, rhythm, even silence. They directly serve the character's objective or embody their obstacle.
Give me an example of an inner object.
Okay. A worn armchair might become an absent father. The character's objective might be to seek his approval by finally sitting in it, or maybe to defy him by refusing to ever approach it. A simple table lamp could become a symbol of sanctuary they desperately need, or maybe a reminder of a traumatic confession made under its light, making them want to turn it off or avoid its glow.
How do we guide them to find these?
Ask them, what part of this room feels like it remembers you? Which specific object in here could hold your guilt, your longing, your hope, your greatest fear related to what you want in this scene? If your grief or your rage or your ambition had a shape in this room, where would it sit? What object would it inhabit?
Making the abstract concrete through objects.
Exactly. These substitutions, born from the actor's personal truth, but serving the character's needs, must then guide your visual storytelling. Frame the inner object significantly. Hold the camera longer on places or things that carry pain or desire. Use your mise en scène to create psychological pressure around these loaded items. For instance, if a prop knife symbolizes a character's past betrayal, how they pick it up, their gaze at it, their very breath around it, will be infused with this profound meaning, driving their behavior and their objective for revenge, or perhaps their struggle against that impulse.
Object infusion. Got it. And the third tool.
Wall projection. This is specifically for activating or reactivating the fourth wall. Guide your actors to create a concrete, specific, imagined presence there that directly impacts their objective in this moment. Ask them, okay, things feel flat. Who do you need to be fighting against right now? What do you see in that blank corner of the room if you could imbue your current struggle, your objective, or your greatest obstacle into a chaise or a person?
Making them choose something specific.
Very specific. Who do you imagine standing just outside the frame? What do they want from you right now? What are you trying to do to them or prevent them from doing to you as you play this scene? Guide them to powerfully substitute figures or symbols into that invisible space. A judging parent whose approval they desperately seek in order to achieve their goal, a lost child they are trying to protect by winning this argument, or the manifestation of their own self-doubt they are fighting to overcome so they can take the next step.
So it's not just a general idea, it's tied to the scene's objective.
Absolutely. These aren't just intellectual games. They are emotional excavations designed to unearth how the unseen space profoundly resonates inside the character's psyche now, forcing them into specific actions and reactions that serve the story. This is how you pull the soul of a scene back from the dead. You reignite purpose, behavior, and drive by reassigning inner objects, reconnecting the actor's objective to the emotional geography of the place, and potentially reblocking the scene based on where power, memory, and the unseen opponent truly live in the room and just beyond the frame.
That's an incredible toolkit for directors. Really practical ways to get under the skin of a scene, it sounds like an invisible orchestra where every note, every silence, every movement is suddenly charged with meaning. So when it works, when places in the fourth wall are fully activated, when this collaborative process is executed with mastery, what are the undeniable signs? How does this manifest for us, the director, during filming, and maybe more importantly, for the audience experiencing the final film? What does it look like?
When it's working. It's unmistakable. The results are profound and immediately palpable on set and on screen. Place becomes haunted alive with history and meaning, and the fourth wall becomes haunted, populated by unseen forces the characters tangibly interacting with.
And the camera captures.
The camera captures not mere performance, but true possession. The actor is consumed by a truth they feel deep in their bones, a truth that drives every action and reaction towards their objective, navigating the obstacles laid bare by the place in the fourth wall.
So movement changes.
Completely. Movement ceases to be mechanical staging. It becomes behavior rooted in profound emotional necessity. Every action, every step, every glance, every hesitation is rooted in deep emotional need, not merely hitting marks for coverage. The actor moves through the space as if it truly is a minefield of their own past, or a crucible for their present struggle.
And the fourth wall interactions.
A simple glance toward the fourth wall transforms into a visceral reaction. You see it in their eyes, their posture, their breath. It could be a silent scream held back, a collapse into vulnerability, a sharp confrontation with guilt, or a desperate yearning for a life just out of reach. The audience doesn't see an actor looking at nothing. They feel the weight of that invisible presence. They sense the doing aimed at that unseen force, and they understand the objective driving it, even if it's subconscious.
The frame itself changes.
The frame itself vibrates with emotional life, because something real, personal, and urgent is unfolding just out of reach or being triggered by the very floorboards. The room is no longer passive. It is a battleground, a confessional booth, a graveyard of what once was, or maybe a portal to what could be. It carries immense emotional gravity.
So even big emotional moments land differently.
Absolutely. An actor's actions, even a breakdown, tears, rage, feel like a profound collapse or a necessary fight under that very specific accumulated weight, rather than a generalized display of emotion for the camera.
Can you think of an example from film where this is really apparent?
Well, we saw this masterfully executed in Marriage Story. Remember the scene where Adam Driver's character, Charlie, finally breaks down in his empty LA apartment after the argument?
Vividly. Punching the wall.
Exactly. But it wasn't just good acting in a vacuum. It was a masterclass in place, and arguably the ghosts on his fourth wall. Those seemingly bare walls of that temporary impersonal apartment were charged. They were charged with the history of shattered family, the failure of his marriage, the loss of his son's daily presence. The corners remembered arguments. The floor beneath him felt hollowed out by loss because the actor treated it as such.
So the emptiness wasn't neutral?
The emptiness was the obstacle. His objective was arguably to survive the crushing weight of his reality, to hold himself together. And the apartment itself, its very emptiness and foreignness, became an antagonist, almost suffocating him. Every tear, every broken sound, his punching the wall, it was all intensified by the apparent neutrality of the space, which, for him, was screaming with his personal history and failure.
And the audience feels that.
The audience doesn't just watch, they forget they are watching. They become eavesdroppers on private truth. They sense the invisible tension created by the place and whatever specters of failure or loss he projected onto those walls. They feel a frame that aches with what remains unspoken, because the space itself has been emotionally weaponized by the actor's work. It became a scene partner, a witness, an emotional accomplice in the character's fight for his objective, which in that moment was simply to endure the pain.
That's when the audience truly believes.
Truly believes, truly feels, and is irrevocably drawn into the world you, the director, have meticulously created by activating these powerful tools. That's the goal.
This has been an incredibly insightful session, really offering directors truly transformative tools for deepening performance and enhancing the entire cinematic experience. As we conclude this part of our work, what is the distilled truth? The essential core you want every director listening to carry with them regarding place and the fourth wall.
Understand this and hold on to it. Place and the fourth wall are not protective barriers for your actors. They are not meant to make them feel safe or comfortable. Quite the opposite. They are precisely what make the character's world airtight and often dangerous.
Airtight and dangerous.
Yes. They eliminate neutrality. They eliminate escape routes. They force actors into private truth, into a deeply personal, specific fight for their objective against their obstacle. Without them, performance often remains pretend, a skillful, maybe even beautiful theatrical exercise, but ultimately pretend.
But with them,
performance becomes dangerous, undeniable, deeply, uncomfortably authentic, because the actor has nowhere else to go but into the fire of the character's reality.
So the power lies with the director, too.
You, the director, possess the power to weaponize space. Don't shy away from that. You can make the very air feel thick with judgment, with history, with longing. You can make silence scream with unspoken words directed at the fourth wall. You can make the room itself demand something profound from the character, be it approval, confession, redemption, or simply an act of sheer will to survive it.
So we're directing transformation.
You are directing transformation. You are building emotional battlegrounds, not just sets. You are breathing life into empty rooms by filling them with personal history. You are giving your actor an invisible but formidable opponent to truly fight against, making their objective tangible even in the absence of another physical body in the scene.
The fourth wall in places don't protect actors.
They trap them. They trap them inside the world where truth has no escape. And that confinement is where authentic, powerful performance is born. So look at your set. Look at your frame. Ask yourself relentlessly, what does this space want from my character? What is this unseen presence on the fourth wall demanding? Then guide your actor, give them the tools, and make them fight to survive it. That is how rooms breathe. That is how walls talk. That is how space becomes story and how behavior becomes undeniable truth.
a powerful call to action for every director listening. This session has truly illuminated how the invisible, the history in the walls, the presence beyond the frame can become the most potent force in storytelling, transforming a mere set into a living, breathing emotional landscape and an empty space into a crucible of truth.
Indeed. The true mastery, I believe, lies in sculpting the unseen, making it as visceral, as impactful, as undeniable as anything physically present in your frame.